After the second shooting at Fort Hood within a handful of years, there are a number of folks here who are saying, is my company prepared in case some nutcake decides that we are next? Well, to help us figure out whether or not we are protected and figure out how to get protected, we turn to Adam Ringle, president of Adam Ringle Consulting, LLC, specializing in emergency planning and preparedness. Adam, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. All right, Adam, let's talk about this. If one works in a company and has some exposure to the public, particularly now post-Fort Hood, we are all a little bit concerned. How do we know whether or not the emergency plan that our company has in place is satisfactory?
Well, currently it's very difficult to know, but basically we need to look back at normal security, physical security measures before we judge anything else. Some physical security measures include proximity cards to enter and exit buildings, or doors locked that access main thoroughfares in buildings, or can you just walk in off the street on your place of employment? Those are all things that we need to look at. And if you recall, after 9/11, we increased our security measures. After Columbine, we now call that the post-Columbine era. Law enforcement changed the way we responded. And now, as you mentioned, the second Fort Hood shooting, we're going to call it the post-Fort Hood shooting era. We have to really take a better look at what our plans include, whether they're comprehensive, and whether they're including certain things. And as an example, I'll put this out there. When was the last fatal fire in a school where someone perished? And most people don't realize that that was in 1958.
It's been a while.
Yes, and but in our kids' schools, we're doing a fire drill probably once every 2 to 3 months. The NFPA recommends in their Learn Not to Burn campaign, they recommend that they should do it several times a year. So when was the last time your company or your school conducted an active shooter drill or an active shooter training where other people participated besides law enforcement?
Would that be never?
No, some schools, we took a poll in a few of our classes for emergency responders in March, and actually a hand or two was raised in each class. So maybe out of 30 students in each of the classes, probably 1 or 2 of the parents said that their kids have had some type of active shooter drill.
Well, there are some colleges and universities. We will receive, if you're a parent who has a son or daughter going to the University of Delaware and you're on the email distribution list, you'll receive an email or you receive a telephone call if it says basically shelter in place or that there is some kind of a threat. But for those of us who are worried about the corporate world exposure, what's the bare minimum that our companies should have in place to help make us safe?
By our standards, the bare minimum is a plan. The same thing that you do for a fire drill or any type of emergency. For years and years, we've always thought, wow, it's happening all over the country, it could happen here. But generally speaking, the mentality of most folks out there is, well, it's not going to happen to me until it does. And that's really where the issue is, because we find lack of preparation. And your body goes through physiological changes when it's put under stress. And understanding how your body performs under stress is going to help you develop a plan. But if you don't develop that plan, don't practice that plan, and don't love that plan, when that moment or extraordinary moment comes and you need to act, you can't spend time thinking about it. It has to be muscle memory at that point, and it's never going to be unless we practice.
Because the fight or flight adrenaline surge kicks in, and if you're not practicing what you should be doing, you don't know which way that switch is going to flip.
Correct. And if you're not, well, your body's going to develop certain things. For example, it's going to develop tunnel vision, and you're going to lose 70% of your peripheral vision. Knowing that and preparing that ahead of time, you kind of know where your exits are. You know whether you're going to decide to run, hide, or fight based upon where your location is in the building. And just as we plan for everything else, a little bit of a kind of a terrifying statistic, including Fort Hood yesterday on the 2nd, there have been 21 mass shootings since President Obama took office in 2009. It's about a 300% increase. And if you compare the United States to the rest of the world, since Columbine, there have been 32 mass shootings in the United States, and there have only been 14 in the entire rest of the world.
Adam Ringle, president of Adam Ringle Consulting, specializes in emergency planning and preparedness. You can contact him here. Adam, what's the easiest way for folks to get in touch with you?
They can find us on Facebook, or they can contact us on our website. It's adamringleconsulting.com.